Well, we sure do love our dogs, but some of us are more cat people. What is it about our feline friends that is so captivating and entertaining? Joining us to delve into their little psyches is Dr. Suzanne Hetts, co-owner of Animal Behavior Associates. It's good to see you again.
Good to see you too.
So, would you say that cats have more varying types of personalities than, say, dogs typically do?
You know, I don't know if it's more varied. I would say maybe it's a little bit less varied than dogs because dogs have been bred for so many thousands of years to perform different tasks. And so you have the dogs that were bred to sit in people's laps, essentially like the Pomeranians, and dogs that were bred to be real working dogs. And we don't have that kind of variability in cats. But certainly there are variabilities in their personalities based on their genetic factors and also on their experience and the degree that they've been socialized to people. So we definitely have variation, but I would say maybe it's a little bit less than what you see in dogs.
Oh, that's interesting. You know, for dogs, they always seem happy to see you. Cats, their aloofness, I think, attracts a lot of people. It's almost a challenge for their affections. So I'm curious, though, when you talk about how cats have less varying degrees of their personality. I mean, some cats out there, whether it's nature versus nurture, love to be pet. Others don't enjoy it. Some are just extreme cuddlers, while others would rather keep their distance. So you kind of don't know what you're going to get when you adopt a cat.
You sometimes you really don't, because if you adopt a cat from a shelter, they're in a very unfamiliar, very intimidating environment that oftentimes doesn't allow their true personality to shine through until they become more comfortable in their surroundings. And there's been some interesting research done on cat personalities where they found that they originally described it as the friendly gene, but they renamed it to call it the boldness gene that comes from the cat's fathers. So cats that are more bold tend to be more friendly because they're less intimidated about going up to things they're not familiar with. And then we have the factor of how well socialized cats are, because the sensitive period for socialization in cats occurs much sooner than it does in dogs. It's like from 2 to 7 weeks. So if cats don't get exposed to people, at least 5 or 6 of them during that time period, they tend to be a little bit more reticent about people, maybe the more aloof kind of manifestation of personality that you describe. So there's a lot of things that go into determining how friendly a cat's going to be, from their early experience to their genetic personality. Right. And there are some breed differences as well.
That's true. Well, my Tinkerbell, I adopted her at about 10 weeks, and I have seen over the course of these last couple of years just her personality ebbing and flowing and changing and evolving. She's not a huge cuddler, but she certainly can be very affectionate. Sometimes she wants to go outside, and I've never let a cat outside before. I've always had indoor cats, but I've started to let her do that. Is that a good idea?
Well, that's really kind of fraught with risk, is the way that I would put it. Not only for the cat's perspective, because they can be hit by cars, they can get into fights with other cats, they can be injured by dogs who may be off leash, or if the cat leaves your yard and jumps into a yard with dogs, that can put her at risk. And the other piece of research that has been done recently is they find that cats that are outside, they have a real detrimental effect on the songbird population. Free-ranging cats kill birds, and birds are already subjected to a lot of stressors from climate change and other things. So there's a real ecological reason not to allow your cats to free roam outside, in addition to their own safety.
And it's kind of in their nature. So they need to often wander. They need to wander the house. So if they're in the house, they need to be able to have access to all the rooms. They're very curious. I mean, we hear curiosity kills the cat. But let's talk about some of their other behaviors, one of which can be a major problem for people, and that is scratching, clawing after the furniture. So when it comes time to discipline cats or to train them, are they trainable? Can you get that trait out of them that they want to ruin all your furniture?
Well, you can't train a cat not to scratch at all because that's one of their behavioral needs. I mean, it would be like telling us, don't eat your breakfast or don't eat lunch or don't eat dinner because you know you're making a mess in the kitchen. So we
Right.
can't really train that out of them. But the important point is that we can channel that behavior into acceptable locations and outlets. So it's all about meeting the cat's behavioral needs in terms of what they like to scratch, where they like their scratching objects to be, and making the objects that you don't want them to scratch less appealing. So that's really the key to it, is how can I channel this behavior into acceptable objects and make the ones that they are scratching that I want them to leave alone less attractive for them where they don't want to touch it anyway.
I see. All right. This is a great place to take a break. When we come back, I want to talk about a couple other traits that we need to keep our eyes open for and maybe how to train them out of certain behaviors. We're going to do that in 2 minutes. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. It's all about the cats today. We'd like to welcome back Dr. Suzanne Hetts. She's co-owner of Animal Behavior Associates. And some of the traits that cats are just bred with, you can't take that out of the cat, but there are certain things like we were talking about scratching the furniture. You want to have these cuddly creatures around, but you don't want to lose all of your furniture in the process. Some of the other things, what about aggression? What about making them play well with other animals in the house? How do you do that?
You know, that can be a real challenge. And quite frankly, some cats will never get the hang of it. They just won't, for a variety of reasons. Other cats are pretty copacetic, pretty adaptable, learn to get along well with both other cats and other dogs. And you can do a lot to facilitate that process by the way that you introduce the cats to family pets if you're bringing a new cat into the family. You need to do that on a very gradual basis, give the newcomer her own room, with food and water and scratching posts and toys, and go visit her and do some scent exchanges there with the other animals in the house. So you really need to monitor how your newcomer cat is feeling about being there and really watch her behavior so that she's not fearful, she's not hiding under the bed, she's not trying to mark her territory in the little confined room that she's at, and then gradually give her more access to the rest of the house and the other animals. There's some real good information online about how to structure and micromanage that introduction process. We have one, Helping Cats Get Along, that really takes owners through step-by-step introduction, and also what to do if suddenly your indoor cats start fighting with each other. There's some reasons for that and some things you can do to prevent it and also to fix it once it starts to happen.
Oh, good. Okay. Now, you said something very important, marking their territory. Cats sometimes go astray from their litter box, and you will start finding mistakes, accidents, whatever you want to call them, around the house. And a cat's mistake and a dog's mistake are two very different things. So you kind of want to prevent the cat's mistake from ever happening. Why do they do this?
Well, you bring up two different things, really. One is marking behavior, and marking behavior doesn't have anything to do with the need to eliminate or relieve themselves. That's a territorial thing. Sometimes it's a stressful thing, and that's dealt with very differently than the cat who's deciding that she would rather pee and poop someplace other than her litter box. And that problem, again, is more about meeting the cat's behavioral needs, figuring out, well, what is it about this place that she's soiling that is better in her mind than her litter box? Is it the location? Is it the texture? Is it that she feels safer in that location? What is it? Is it the cleanliness of that area? The litter box has gotten too dirty. So figure out what is it about where she's going that's better meeting her needs than what you've provided in the litter box, and then see if you can match that up better.
I see. And marking. So when a cat has come into a new home, you kind of lay the groundwork as soon as they enter the house. They've got their specific place to sleep and to do their business and to eat and all of that. But they still feel the need to go to a piece of furniture or a corner of the room on the floor and soil it. So how do you keep them from doing that?
The marking behavior can be really, really tough to deal with. And sometimes it takes a multi-pronged approach. Sometimes it's a matter of not allowing them in those areas, just only letting them in certain areas of the house while you're still in the introduction process. Sometimes medication prescribed by a veterinarian is useful. There are also pheromones that may work, not 100%, but that may help decrease the cat's need to mark. And then look at, in a bigger picture, why is she marking? Are there outdoor cats running around outside the window where she feels she has to claim her territory? Is there social conflict going on between family pets where it's making her nervous and she's like, oh, I'm just going to relieve my stress by peeing? So with the marking problems, you sometimes need to take a bigger picture approach and figure out what's motivating this, and then that will direct what you need to do to try to stop it.
Okay, well, there's so much more to talk about on this subject, Doctor, but I think we're going to leave it there. We're going to have you come back. We're going to discuss more about cats and just getting into those little minds. They're fascinating animals. They're wonderful animals.
Such a fun undertaking to get into the cat's mind.
It is. Thank you for dishing the dirt on all that too. So.
My pleasure.
It was a pleasure. Thank you so much. We're back after this.